Today on 70 Years of Bestop, I'm going to interview a guy who knows just about everything from all 80 plus years of Jeep history, and those sandals are hidden on the brand new Jeep Wrangler. About 25 years ago, a guy took a chance on a young kid who was interested in off-roading in Jeeps, and that was Rick Pewe when he hired me. Today we're going Jeeping with my friend, my old boss, and a flat fender icon, Rick Pewe. You want to drive this thing?
Heck yeah, let's go.
Most of you probably know, but maybe not all of you, that Rick Pewe is the guy that hired me when I first started in the off-road world, writing for a magazine called Peterson's 4-Wheel and Off-Road Magazine. And what is Rick Pewe doing today? Or these days?
These days?
Yeah.
Gone Jeeping. Everybody said, "Where's Rick Pewe?" Grayson said, "He's gone Jeeping."
And what is gone Jeeping?
Gone Jeeping is all Jeep all the time. Look for us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, sometimes on the website. But we like doing YouTube.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's kind of fun.
And are you working on new Jeeps, old Jeeps, a little bit of everything?
All Jeeps all the time.
Nice.
My newest Jeep's a 2020 Grand Cherokee. That's the wife's.
Wow.
Our next newest vehicle is a 2014 JK. That's hers also.
Okay. She gets everything that starts with a 20?
No, she gets anything that drives, runs, and works well.
She only drives stuff that starts with a 20?
Oh no. Only stuff that actually works. All my Jeeps, that's a different story.
How many Jeeps are all of your Jeeps?
Well, let's see. She has 5.
Okay.
She's got those two, and then she's got her CJ17 that you built.
Oh, she acquired that one?
It always was hers.
Good.
I took it away from her.
Ah. And that one's still running good?
Good as it ever was.
Good. Did you see the Apache Motel is for sale?
Uh-huh.
We should buy that place.
Yeah, our little dump over here that we usually stay in, the good one, is 2.2 million.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and that's like 5 little cottage bungalow things.
Apparently John Wayne stayed at that one.
Oh, well, that makes it worth a lot more.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's close to Mills.
Well, yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah, we are going there, aren't we?
Yep.
You want to go? I know where we're going now. I was just going to go wheeling.
So she has those 3.
And then she has her 1990 XJ.
Okay.
And also her 48 Jeepster.
Ah, yes.
2-wheel drive, of course.
And then you have all the rest.
And I have all the rest. I have the other 25.
Ish. That you know of.
That she knows of.
Oh. Oh yeah, it pops out a second.
That's
Only,
interesting.
Only on the downhills and sometimes on the uphills.
Deceleration.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fairly common known problem.
Yes. So the story with this Jeep is this is a 1954-ish.
54-ish? Okay.
So Bestop was started in 1954 in a little upholstery shop in Boulder, Colorado. And this year's their 70th anniversary, and they wanted to do a giveaway Jeep. And they were like, well, we should find a 1954. And the only open-top Jeep that they were making in 54 was a 3B, or the Jeepster, but we'll stick with the 3B. But the more that I've ridden around in it, the more I'm like, oh, this thing's great.
Oh, there's a lot to be said good for a high foot.
Yeah.
But you're right. CJ3A ended in 53.
Yep. CJ5, 55.
Started in 55. M38A1 was being produced. That was in 52 on up.
Yeah, I think they were probably thinking civilian.
Yeah. But the Jeepster ended in 1950, 51.
Oh, it did.
52, if it's titled incorrectly.
So, I saw recently that you rolled out your first Jeep.
Yeah.
Are you really going to do something to it?
I have to now. It has a flat rear tire. My Parnelli Jones that I've had for 20 years, it just pops.
What?
It's been sitting there for a few years, but it just popped.
All right, so let's talk about what was Rick Pewe's first Jeep?
Okay, my first Jeep, 1945 Ford produced GPW.
How old were you when you got that?
I was 15. That's 1972, I think.
And why did you want one of those?
Well, I knew they were the neatest ones. They're Rat Patrol. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, wait, let me rephrase that. I don't remember it, but I know what it is.
So Rat Patrol was a television series in about 65, 66, right at that era. Of World War II Jeeps in North Africa campaign in World War II, and Army soldiers ran around the desert with 50 caliber machine guns and shot up the enemy and just had an awesome time. And the starting photo, the first part, is with a Jeep flying over a sand dune.
And young Ricky was like, I can do that.
I could do that. Except I'd already been driving Jeeps because I grew up with them in Alaska and Arizona.
Because your dad was a geologist.
A geologist.
And so you would go out in Jeeps to help him look at fossils and rocks and stuff?
Right. So it was normal to me.
Yeah.
But the Army part was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the music for that was Dominic Frontier. Means nothing to you.
Nothing to me.
Nothing to you. And he did a lot of those type of shows in the 60s.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So when you're my age and you're reading all the credits, you remember that crap.
Yeah.
Still, 50 years later.
Did you ever meet Dominic Frontier?
No, I think he was long dead. The cool thing was that the Rat Patrol was fictional, but it was patterned after the British SAS Secret Service that did use U.S. Jeeps and did go to North Africa and ruin the German shipping lines and everything else. And that's when you told me about it, as far as, oh, come on, baby, as far as a group that was doing it. Come on, honey. Do we have a pass?
Yep.
Woohoo!
What year is that?
54.
That's fucking awesome.
Thank you. That one's newer. Thanks.
All right. So
Okay.
you watch this TV show and you're like, I need one of those.
Yep.
And then do you convince mom and dad to buy it for you? Do you save up your pennies to buy it yourself? Did you just find it?
All of that. Except then all of a sudden I come home and it's in the garage. I go, holy cow. And they said, happy birthday.
Nice.
Yeah, but I was 15, so I couldn't even drive it.
Ah.
Of course, my buddy and I took it out when they were gone one day, and ended up breaking the rear axle. Because World War II Jeeps have weak rear axles.
Yep.
Oh. That's it.
Yeah, that's all it's got.
That's it. So, sure enough, I brought it back into the garage. I shifted all the levers so it wouldn't go anywhere. Because with a broken rear axle, you put it in front wheel drive and drive it home.
Ah.
So then I shifted everything. My dad gets in it, tries to make it work. I don't know, Dad. I don't know what happened.
So if it's a GPW and you broke the rear end, it's a full floater rear end.
Right. So the wheel doesn't fall off.
Nice.
I broke a lot of axles on that Jeep.
Did you pull the flange off and like fish out the broken parts and bolt the flange back on?
Eventually.
Ah.
Well, the flange is part of the axle shaft, like
Yep.
a real truck.
Yep. But like
But
when
you
it's
still
broken.
still have to get that little piece out. Jesus. This is a hot rod.
Yeah.
Lost all that momentum.
Nina was a much more delicate driver. All right, so you have this thing, and where all have you taken your Jeep?
Oh boy. In high school, I drove it all over the place. I circled Arizona, and I've driven it from Arizona all the way to New York and back.
Okay.
I was actually on my way to Nova Scotia, but I ran into some
Trouble,
people.
ladies, girlfriends.
Yeah. So I never made it all the way to Nova Scotia, but that was a bucket list thing to do,
Yeah.
which I finally did with my dad's Jeep.
And it was on like stock size tires and
Oh no, they were huge, 31s. 31 and a half actually.
you had something to prove.
Yeah. Well, I also had an overdrive in it. And I had a 40-gallon gas tank in the back.
Now, what gear ratios were in GPWs?
Oh, that's the good thing. World War II GPWs and MDs were 488s.
Okay.
And this one should have 538s.
Yep.
Which is why we're yelling
Yes.
at 20 miles an hour.
That and the slight gear whine.
Gear whine? That's because the plate's missing here.
Oh.
Or is that your heater?
Here, I'll just put my foot over it.
Woo!
There, is it quieter?
Yeah,
I can hardly hear it now.
considerably. You did check the levels, right?
Well, funny story. When I first test drove this thing, I was like, this thing's making a lot of gear whine. And when I got back from the test drive, it was not leaking. That's Christian Hazel. And I was like, did you guys check this gearbox? And they were like, I think it's okay. And I was like, make sure it has oil in it. And the next day we took it out and it was still whining like crazy. But when we got back, it was finally leaking. So then I was like, oh good, it's probably got gear oil in it. Because I've never really seen one that didn't leak.
Right. They're supposed to leak or they're empty.
Right. But somebody had actually done a good enough job with the seals that it didn't leak for the first day, but from the rest of the week it seems to be leaking. So
Okay, good, good. You know, it doesn't ride that bad.
no.
And these are not stock springs.
No?
No, these are aftermarket. So usually when you get aftermarket springs, it gets a little stiff.
Yeah.
Whereas the stock ones have been worn in for
Nice and supple.
Yeah.
Well, the story is Bestop was looking for a 54
Yeah.
and they found this one. And I actually got to talk to the guy that built it. And he bought it from some guys in Montana who had started the project, but didn't finish it. He brought it home, and he did all the work to it. And he was like, it was too nice when I got done with it. I wanted one I could actually wheel. So then he sold it to Bestop. And,
Wow.
all right, so you have this GPW.
Yep.
You drive around.
Yep.
You go to school for geology?
Oh, geography. In college, yeah, but before that I had to get a job
Oh,
so I could pay for parts and fixing my Jeep. A World War II Jeep also has a very weak transmission as well as rear end. So the T84, which is smaller than this, it's
Yep.
not like this.
yep.
This one's that big. It makes a difference. I blew that up about 3 or 4 times. So I got a job in the industry at Four Wheeler Supply in Phoenix
Okay.
and worked there forever. Learned all about the mechanics of Jeep, selling Jeep parts, the whole 9 yards. Even how to clean the bathroom. That was my first job.
Clean the bathroom.
Yep, clean the bathroom.
Figured
Okay.
if you put up with that, then you could put up with cleaning up old gear oil.
Exactly. So after I quit that, then I went to Ohio with my Jeep, and eventually came back with that same Jeep and 73 Ford pickup.
Oh.
Come on, honey. Pedal. How much gas did you put in?
It'll be fine.
I'm gonna check that choke again.
So you towed it home from
Towed it
Ohio
home.
with the Ford,
Yeah.
and then you went to college, or was this before?
No, this was after college.
Okay.
So I never used my degree,
Yep.
other than my riding skills and all that.
Yep.
By then, worked for another four-wheel drive shop, and I eventually bought it and have my own Republic Off-Road.
What time frame was Republic Off-Road?
That was 84 to 94, shall we say.
Okay.
And we did specialty builds and custom suspension and all that stuff. And tuned up motors and rebuilt transmissions.
And when you were running that shop, what changes did you do to your own Jeep?
Well, actually, even before that, I changed it from 4-cylinder to Buick V6.
Yeah.
And let's see, went to a flange 44 rear end because it's so much stronger. My wife actually broke the final axle on the lightweight one.
Yeah.
Come on, honey. And that finally morphed into a Buick 455 and an SM 424 speed because it's plenty strong and plenty powerful.
And it has a really low first gear.
Oh yeah, first gear on a 420 is 7.02 to 1. So long before all these doublers and low stuff, Marlin crawlers, I had a better than 100 to 1 axle ratio. Because I also put in a Dana 60 rear
Yeah.
with the 589s
Oh.
and air lockers because they were the state of the art then.
Oh yeah. That was like when ARB just
Yep.
first came to the country.
Yeah.
So you still had a Dana 44 in the front, or did you have something different in the front?
No, I built a Dana 44 from the front.
So is 589 the lowest you can get in the Dana 44?
In a 44 at the time,
Yeah.
they were doing 717s and 60s and stuff. But it wasn't really necessary because it advances in low gear transfer cases and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was running 35-inch swamp or boggers. That was fun. We go to Mexico, go across the dunes. One time, we're sitting at a bar in Mexico, and our boggers look like mini paddles, right? We've just done a 200-mile dune trip. The guy says, yeah, those things aren't any good in the sand. Okay. So, never argue.
Yeah. Just agree.
Just nod.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those were the Bogger boys, wasn't it?
That was the Bogger boys, yep. Deb Bacon, Mike Flores, myself. Then we had, that was the core. Then Randy Ellis, Shannon Campbell.
It's funny, earlier this week I was on a trail, and there was a guy in a CJ7 on Boggers. And I was so excited.
Yep.
And he didn't really make it up the hill very well, but man, they looked cool.
Yep. Well, we found that proper pressure. They rock crawl like better than anything. Excellent in the mud. In the sand, like I said, little paddles.
Didn't you have them so like the center void would like tuck right up into like the wheel well?
Right. When I built my Jeep, I made sure that, I mean, it's that big of a void between the two sides.
Yep.
So I had it so when at full compression, it would go right into there. So basically I gained an inch of clearance.
Okay.
Oh, that was also spring over Wrangler leaves.
Oh yeah. So were a lot of people doing spring over before you were at Republic, or?
Oh, definitely, but it was usually on skinny stock springs.
Oh, okay.
So they rode like crap.
Yep.
Stiff. So when I went to Wrangler springs, basically I wanted ones without an arch.
Yep.
So they'd be equal going up and going down from here to here, and ride flat and drive up.
So ride leaf springs that are pretty flat,
Right.
and then they arch one way for full compression and the other way for full
Right.
cruise.
Sort of like a 75 Chevy
Yeah.
pickup in the front.
Yeah.
And I made the axles with a lot of casters, so you know the wheels look like they're falling over
Yep.
when you turn them.
So you got this this GPW
Yeah.
on Boggers, big engine, Wrangler YJ spring over leaf springs,
Yep,
shackle reversal,
yep,
8274 worn winch.
absolutely.
And then what happens? How do you go from Republic and your GPW there to Off-Road Magazine writer?
Fortunately, I traveled a lot with the system. I had my own business, so I could.
Yep.
Had some good people running it. So I kept running into California and met all these magazine people. They liked my Jeep. I'd go out with them.
Yep.
We'd have fun. I met Freiberger. Come on, baby. There we go. And I met him once out at a place, Jimmy Island, and I set it up. Let's go meet Freiberger in the desert, because sure enough, we want to go have a trip. So get out there. Freiberger hops in the seat with me. We go down to Wash, and Ned and I are playing tire tag, going fast.
Yep.
Next thing you know, he wins, and I'm up on my side, on Freiberger's side. I'm on the outside, he's on the outside. And about that time, the toilet paper roll flew out the back and unfurled. That was the first time I really met David.
And he was like, this is my type of guy.
Yeah. So we got along well. He offered me a job. And I thought, why would I want to move to California of all places?
Yeah.
Not be my own boss anymore. I thought, well, let's see, give it a try. So I traded an old Jeep tub for a motorhome that ran, sort of. Moved to California, like the Beverly Hillbillies. Motorhome was so old, I'd go around a corner and the body would parallelogram. Things would fall out the bottom. Flores followed me over Had to keep dodging debris. It was good times. And then I drove my Jeeps out one at a time.
So I remember being in high school, reading Peterson's 4-Wheel and Off-Road magazine and 4-wheeler, and it was Rick's Jeep and Jimmy Nyland's Jeep and Ned Bacon's Jeep that were being used to test tires and winch shootouts and all that stuff, trail rides.
Well, that's what's funny, because Ned, after he went to school in Arizona for UTI, mechanics, and he came to my shop for a job. And I said, I don't have any mechanic jobs, but I have a counter job. And I'm not quite sure he said it like that, but it was like, well, I don't really like people. But he did well.
Yeah.
Finally, a shop job opened up, and good times ensued.
I think he said his Jeep was his resume that he brought to you, just kind of say, look, I can do this stuff.
Pretty much, you're right.
Yep.
I mean, I walked out and looked at his flatty, noticed the stainless steel grill, and windshield frame. Yeah. At that time, I had sold plenty of those, and I had a chrome grill.
Yeah. But I thought you wrote once that the chrome grill is the worst thing to ever do to a flat fender.
Who wrote that?
You did.
Right. However, I kept mine because of that. Oh yeah, there's plenty of secret meaning in there.
The chrome grill was the old angry grill.
Yeah, that's well put.
And then you've got this off-road shop. Ned Bacon's working there. And then guys like Randy Ellis and Shannon Campbell, who a lot of people know from King of the Hammers, would start coming in there and buying parts from you.
Yep. Oh, he found the right place to take photos. So I come back to California.
Yep.
Or I come to California and start writing for 4-Wheel and Off-Road. I was a feature editor. I was pretty happy. It was interesting because I got the news while I was at 4-Wheeler Magazine's Top Truck Challenge.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You were in the very first one, weren't you? Or one of the
Yeah,
first
I
ones?
sure was.
And how did you do in Top Truck?
Well, it was an interesting year. It was our introductory year. And I lost by 1/10 of 100th of 1%.
Oh, they didn't want you to win.
No, I couldn't win. I helped set it up. And at the last minute, we didn't have enough people, so I called up Flores to come out.
Well, spoiler alert, you're not going to get to win this Jeep either. But neither am I. So.
Neither are you, so we're okay. Right? So, yeah. But it was a good time. And I was, of course, helping him with them at the same time. But now, I'm working for the competition.
Oh.
At that time, there were two entirely separate companies, 4-Wheeler and 4-Wheel and Off-Road.
Yep.
And the other one, Sport Utility and 4-Wheel Drive, that was a totally different company.
So there was probably, 4 or 5 different off-road publications?
Off-Road, 4-Wheel Drive, Sport Utility, 4-Wheeler, and then Peterson's 4-Wheel and Off-Road.
And when JP was started, was that owned by one of those? Or was that
That was out of Dobbs Publishing Group out of Florida.
So there were 5 different companies making an off-road magazine.
Yeah. And they were all a little bit different in their own little niche, right?
Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, was good.
Right.
And at that time, all of the editors knew each other, and we were all friends that we could drink beer together with and go four-wheeling and not share any secrets, because there's no secrets for real.
Right.
And we controlled the market. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
That was Jimmy Nyland, Tom Moore, Phil Howell, myself, well, David, of course. Who'd I leave out?
Jim Stewart. John
John
Stewart.
Stewart, but he was the main guy.
Oh, okay.
He was a great guy, but that would be Jimmy Nyland's boss. So
Okay.
don't worry about him.
Oh, yeah. So
awesome guy.
And then eventually they all kind of merged and ended up in the same house.
All became part of Peterson Publishing, or whatever we were known as at that time.
Yes.
which I don't remember.
We went through, like, even, it was years and years before I started as a feature editor at Peterson's 4-Wheel and Off-Road when I came to work for you. And by then, we weren't even owned by, we still were in the Peterson building, but we weren't owned by Peterson Publishing.
Right, because first there was Peterson Publishing, which was all the real stuff since 1948. Then the next one was an investment banker group called Peterson Publishing. Then after that came EMAP, which is an English publishing company. Then there was something else.
It
was Pepsi. No, so it was Peterson, EMAP, then the next Peterson, Source Interlink, or Source Intercourse.
Yeah.
Then something else. And then...
I don't even know.
Yeah, but you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those.
Every, like, 18 months, the name on your paycheck would be different.
Right.
But you would still get a paycheck, so you're like,
Right.
okay.
Not that it went up.
It definitely didn't. So how many years did you work in the off-road magazine industry?
Well, not counting the time before I was officially hired, because I helped, like I said, tire tests. I helped Tom Moore edit all his technical stuff for the magazine. So over 25 years.
And what were some of your favorite adventures that you went on in those years? What were some trips or some projects or things that stand out? If you could name, let's say 3. They don't even have to be the top 3. They could just be 3 that you remember.
Okay. Africa, doing the desert recreation.
When they went and did the recreation of the long-range desert
group, yeah. That was epic. 2,000 miles of uncharted sand dunes, 80 years after the real Jeeps. And yes, I had to pick shit on those Jeeps too.
Right.
It was just like being real.
Yep.
We had sandstorms, escaped death, and got shot at by Libyans.
Nice.
I texted my wife once. I said, she said, where are you? I said, well, we kind of accidentally slipped into Libya. Oops.
Oopsie.
Yeah. So that was epic.
Yeah.
No two ways about it.
Probably all the years of Ultimate Adventure.
I'd have to put all of the years of Ultimate Adventure together, because not only does it all
blur together,
as you well know.
Oh yeah.
You talk to people and they go, "What year was that?"
Yeah.
I don't know. What vehicle was it?
I can only remember the year by whatever vehicle we took.
Exactly. Yep.
People are like, "Do you remember the year we went to Tennessee?" I'm like,
"Nope."
No. What truck were we driving?
Yeah. No. Pretty much. Those would be 2 highlights. And then I'd have to say, any Dirt Every Day with Freiberger.
Yes.
Those were all.
So
those have to be all put together.
So before I started the TV show that I had, Pewe and Freiberger would go on these trips where they would buy something and then head there to wherever it was, someplace out of state usually, and then show up to the person that was selling the vehicle, and they would fix it in that guy's driveway, which they didn't always tell the guy, oh, we're going to stay in your yard and fix it. They would fix it and then slowly work their way home, fixing it along the way and going on adventures. And those were the original dead trips, the original Dirt Everyday trips.
Yeah, dead tour.
And then when we came up with a TV show, I don't know that it was my idea, but somebody was like, oh, you should call it Dirt Every Day. And Rick and Freiberger were probably like, wait a second. But by then
you came to me.
Oh, did I come and ask?
And said, would you mind? I went, no, I think it's a great idea. Especially since I thought it was going to not work because of the corporate suits.
Oh,
right?
You thought it would never happen?
Well, no, I thought it happened. I didn't think it'd be wildly successful as it was.
It was pretty good.
Thank God it was.
Yes. So another opportunity you got by working at the off-road magazines was to be involved and influential in what Jeep was actually building and making.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that was definitely true. Especially when they were developing certain vehicles. And we did our 4x4 of the year test every year.
Yep.
And that basically went to Jeep almost every year because they were so good compared to the rest. It wasn't like collusion or anything, not like some of those magazines out there.
Yep.
Like, oh yeah, Corvette's going to be car of the year because Chevy has a 5-page spread. Yeah, no, doesn't work that way. So that was the other cool thing, is that the engineers and the CEOs of Jeep started to know me as well as you and everything else. And that's also why a couple of years we had Jeeps for Ultimate Adventure.
Yep.
And that was a lot of work, dealing with corporate giants like that. So yeah, I've been helping Jeep for the past few years, like in consulting and all that stuff, because they value my, I guess you would call it, old guy opinion.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Well, I think that what you offer them is a check as to the historical relevance of certain things. And when they're like, well, why should we make the doors come off? Why should we make the windshield come down?
Right.
Because of your experience with so many different versions that Jeep has come out with.
Right. And as well as other vehicles.
Right.
Here's why you want solid axles. Here's why you want a fold-down windshield. You know, certain things make a Jeep what a Jeep is. It's just not another car.
Yep.
And that's why they say it's a Jeep thing you wouldn't understand. And you don't understand until you do understand, and then there's no question.
Right.
And if you don't understand, then you go, that doesn't mean anything. Well,
I think that's the thing, is like, sometimes Jeep didn't even understand, but they were like, it's working so well. Why is it working so well?
That's right. And I think that's worked well for me, and that's why my sandals are part of Jeep.
Yes. So a couple of the accolades that Rick has is he's been inducted in the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame, which he's proud of, but probably more proud of is if you look on the cowl of the new Jeep Wrangler JL and the Gladiator.
Yep.
There's a Easter egg of a set of sandals, and if you know Rick, he's always wearing sandals. So it's more than just Jeeps are great to drive to the beach and wear your sandals.
Right.
There's a definite nod to the influence and the help that Jeep's gotten from Rick and the leadership that he's brought to the off-road magazines and industry.
And fortunately, I'll tell them the truth.
Yeah.
If something sucks, I'll say, this sucks.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to rain on us.
I don't think it's raining today.
No. We don't have any wipers anyway.
Right. You know what the samurai says? When it rains, you get wet.
It's true. I've done that a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, I was at a place in Pennsylvania. Some random person comes up to me, and I'm telling them I'm driving from Arizona to Nova Scotia. He says, "This your top?" It's nothing but a summer top. Mm-hmm. I said, "Yep. This is, what do you do when it rains?" I said, "Well, I get wet." There's no doors. Even if there was, it comes through the top. It's not like it's a Bestop or anything. Fake wipers. I have a squeegee for the inside.
I mean, let's be honest. The new top on that Wrangler and on new Wranglers is crazy compared to the tops that we grew up with.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Bestop over 70 years has really figured it out. Not that the old tops were bad, but they were nowhere near as good as the stuff that they make now.
Right. It's better fabric. It's a better fit.
You just grab 2 latches and you can just flip the front
Right.
off and
Yep.
and then just like stop and reach up and fold it back again.
And for the old ones, you don't have to drill holes in the side
Right.
and put in snaps.
Ah,
That stuff's God.
like
No, nice stuff.
the factory one that they put on the JL is nuts how easy it is. It's really wild.
I think that probably started once the people at the factory had to do it.
Yeah.
And the engineers and all that. And went, okay, maybe we should start thinking about this. If we're doing it and it's difficult, let's make it easier.
Right.
And Bestop goes, tried to tell you that.
Well, yeah, because that was the thing. Like, we had interviewed Mark Allen, and he said that Bestop actually came to them and said, "We want to make a top like this."
Yeah, tops have come a long ways.
Yeah.
And remember, Whitco was the factory top for many years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, white top manufacturing company. They were in Denver, Boulder, whatever. And K-Line was down there too. And Bestop now, it's just Bestop.
Yep.
Yeah. Needs a little adjustment, I think.
The first day I drove this, I got back to town and I was like, my abs were hurting from holding on. And now I'm just like, you just sit over here like a marshmallow and it's way more comfortable to just not fight it.
Right. And that's the key. You ride a Jeep like you ride a horse. If you fight it, you bounce up and down the south. Just chill out.
Yep.
Same way with the steering. Don't try to steer it, just herd it along. It'll be fine.
So let's talk about modifying Jeeps.
Sure.
Like, you have this GPW that you built. You modified everything. You
Oh,
put
yeah.
455, SM420, lower gears, bigger axles, bigger tires, different suspension, power steering, a big old winch on the front. Now, if you get a Jeep like this these days, let's say you get this Jeep and it's your only Jeep. What modifications would you do nowadays, or would you not do nowadays? Like, which things you're like, it would be better if it had a locker, or
Right.
that's the turnout right there.
Oh, yeah.
What upgrades do you think actually do help it a lot and you would kind of recommend?
I would say 11-inch brakes.
11-inch brakes?
11-inch brakes.
All around or just up front?
All around.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's probably the one single upgrade that is the best thing to do. Doesn't matter how fast you go. If you can't stop, you're dead.
True.
And yeah, we die like men, but still.
Yes.
Let's give us a fighting chance, right?
Let's live like men
Let's
if we
live
can.
like men, right? And disc brakes are fine too. Brennan makes a great kit, but I probably wouldn't do it because it's just extra money, and 11-inch brakes were great.
Yeah.
If I was living in a wet environment, that'd be a little different because disc brakes self-clean and you have instant brakes after going across water, where I've been in places where I had no brakes after water because they're drum brakes. So that'd be probably number one. If I was, it's kind of torn between restoring or leaving it stock. So
I would say, like, there's certain things that factory you love, and there's certain things that you're like, I would like it to do this.
Right.
And in the past, you and I have both done way over the top flat fenders. Right. And now we really appreciate the super stock ones.
Oh, stock is hot.
Yeah. It's super popular right now.
Yeah.
But I think we can both agree that there's probably a nice spot in the middle that is actually the perfect place.
Right. And that's the other thing I like is a Warren overdrive or Saturn overdrive from Advanced Adapters, Warren.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go, oh, what's that good for? You're not going to go any faster. Well, it's more than that because it splits the gears.
Oh, yes.
First is too low, second's too high, you go to first over.
Right.
Simple as that. So a 3-speed is now a 6-speed.
So, like, for some of these climbs coming in here.
I'd be using the overdrive all the time.
Because second was like, but that
first
split.
was,
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when you're in the rocks or on the freeway, 70 miles an hour, it makes a big difference.
What about steering?
I'd probably change the steering. In other words, if I got a vehicle that wasn't going to keep it stock, I would go with what used to be called Saginaw steering, which Saginaw gear, which was a regular Chevy box.
Yep.
And you could do it with a manual box. Still will be 10 times better than this stock stuff.
Right.
And you can leave the stock column and you can just see a box out front. And instead of a drag link and 2 tie rods going down, it's 1 tie rod between the 2 and a drag link that comes up.
Would you put a giant booming stereo in it?
What? I have put giant booming stereos, wooden boxes in the back, tie wired on, right?
Yes.
And then I found out about ratchet straps, so I ratchet strap them on. I still have those speakers. They don't work very well. No. If you want music, put earbuds in.
I agree.
Right?
I had this thought today. I said, Jeep should make a radio that works there. Only the people inside can hear it.
Yeah.
Like, and especially when it's in 4-wheel drive
Yeah.
or low range, like it just, you can't hear it. Because I don't mind if you like music on the trail, but I just don't always want to hear it.
No, I want to hear what's breaking on my Jeep.
Right. The tires chirping and all
Oh,
those
the
things.
tires. That's what's so cool about an EV.
Yep.
From the 4xe.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's quiet and you can hear the tire grabbing or slipping. And it's great. I do like that.
What do you think is the perfect tire size for a flat fender?
That's debatable. It depends on your gear ratio, your suspension, your engine,
Is there
and
one
what
that
you want to do.
All right. Well, then, is there one that you feel like looks the coolest or looks the best? on the
Oh,
flat
come on. Do you want a Rubenesque woman or do you want a Twiggy woman, okay? They're both cool women, right?
Right.
It's just like Jeeps. They're just different. I mean, like Rango, right? The little flatty, it's low to the ground, 35-inch, 14, 50, 15
wide
inch rim.
tires.
It's a cool look. Okay, well, what about skinny tires like a 750-15, like what we have on these?
Yep.
Also cool, but a totally different woman, totally different tire. Okay, they both work wonderfully.
All right. So
again, then you got your gear ratio, your suspension, how proportionate things are.
oh, I know. It's a snowball effect
Right.
where it's like
Right.
it turns into this and a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Which is why when I had my Jeep 4-cylinder, I went to those 32-inch tall tires because, well, I got a deal on them.
Yep.
And I drove them across country. Thank God I put the overdrive in because it wouldn't hold, third.
Yep.
I'd have to go down the second over and then finally work my way up like a trucker.
Ah, yes.
Then get behind a truck and draft.
Yep.
I'd do 70 no problem because the tires were so tall. Plus a World War II Jeep has 488 gears. Everything after had 538. So that's why they went to a taller tire to begin with and offset that. And I'm dealing that with my JK right now. To Rubicon, I have 410s and I have 33s. I want 456.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do it.
It's a lot of work for just a little step
Right.
up in gear.
But instead, since it's a stick shift, I'm going to put in a center force heavy duty, the heavy clutch.
Yeah, the heavy flywheel, so that
Right.
it can keep
The
it
flywheel
spinning.
keeps going.
Yep.
And that's what made the Buick V6 one of the best Jeep motors ever.
Oh, because it was just
The flywheel is, I mean, you have to do this. It's so heavy. And that was to balance out the odd fire configuration.
Yep.
And it just goes thump, thump, thump. You can count. You can idle at 200 if you're under load. It still goes.
Did you have a big heavy flywheel with the 455?
I got the only flywheel I could get. And it is heavy. Yeah, it's heavier than stock. Yeah.
And what about a roll bar? What's your thoughts on?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Have I wheeled without a roll bar? Yes, for years, and still do. But I've also rolled many more times than most people.
Yep.
That's why I have the little stickers on my Jeep with upside down Jeeps, like kill stickers.
Yep.
So my first time I rolled was 16, and I'm out with my buddies, right? No roll bar.
Yep.
The windshield frame had actually been reinforced because it cracked so many times.
Yep.
And I had 2 buddies in the back, my buddy here, and we go up on this berm on a levee, and I thought I could turn right. No problem, right? All of a sudden I'm sideways, so I go, and I had to turn straight down, otherwise we would have rolled. So instead we went down 20 feet, nailed it. Two buddies in the back fly out like birds.
Oh, geez.
I think one still limps. Yeah. And we ended up upside down. Wham, slam. The only way we lived was that front windshield.
That somebody had reinforced, not this.
But not on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Because it had cracked and all, and it wasn't a stock windshield frame anyway.
Yep.
So I turned off the key, clicked the belt, thump on the ground, and got out. So that's why I say belts and a roll bar, absolutely.
Yep.
I've been dead many times over. Yeah, nobody's doing roll bars on all these vintage builds. Oh, let's reenact just how they were. Well, you go for it, but don't roll over on me.
Yeah.
And don't whine when you're dead.
That's a pretty good bumper sticker. Don't whine when
Don't
you're dead.
whine when you're dead.
And don't whine when you're alive either.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's get out and lock the
whining.
hubs.
Oh, that's a good idea. If we can. You got your tool?
I got a rock. All right, Rick. I actually did a video on these little hubs on that flat fender I got recently, but you need to explain to people what these are and how they work.
Well, these are locking hubs, not lockers.
Correct.
All right? Lockers are on the internal center differential to lock things together.
Also, not a locker that you put stuff in.
Right, it's not a storage locker.
Did you ever hear the story that when they first came out with the Jeep Rubicon, they were working on the marketing material, and somebody who didn't have any idea what they were talking about said, oh, they wrote out the description. It says, has front and rear storage lockers.
Oh.
And they were like, no, that's not what we're talking about.
Well, that would be marketing people.
To get back to less confusion, this is the selectable hub.
Which is a locking hub because it locks.
Yep.
Selectable because it also unlocks. So generic term is just locking hub.
Right.
You could go on forever and ever.
Do you know, and what brand is this?
My eyes can't tell anymore. It's usually here. I believe this is like a Cutlass style.
Okay.
Whatever it is, it's a mechanism used with your hand somehow to unlock the internal gears and the external hub itself. This one has these two levers.
Yep.
And it has a nice little thing here for your finger to pop it out.
Nice.
And ideally, you got a tool?
I got a pocket knife.
Oh, look at that.
But wait, right there, ever so
Free.
tiny, it says free.
Right, so what you do, you come up here and you rotate this. Look at that. And sometimes it doesn't go that way, so you go this way.
Okay.
Or you go this way. And then sometimes you have to wiggle the damn thing. And that's why these are not the best type. Here, try yours too.
Right here it says lock. So we have to, right now that would be on the inside. We need it on the outside.
Right.
Spin that around.
Wow, those work pretty nice.
Yeah. Once they get used in a little bit.
So now this, which is attached to the wheel, is now attached to the axle, to the drive shaft, to the engine. So now we have locked this side in four-wheel drive. Now we got to do the other side. Hopefully it's as easy.
Yeah.
That's nice. These are actually really durable. Sometimes they'll crack, and then of course sometimes excess of power they'll explode.
Right.
But the whole idea is to unlock the axle from the wheels so that the drive shaft doesn't turn. It gives you better mileage.
Right.
Better handling actually, because not everything's shaking itself to pieces and wearing things out.
Cool. Let's lock the other side.
All right. Watch this.
Hand throttle. Look at that.
Yeah?
No sandals on any pedals.
Oh, this is good. Now we're wheeling. Back clutches. Need some fine tuning.
Wow. Every Jeep does.
Absolutely. Like, oh yeah, my project's finished. Really? You're done? Okay. Sure. Let me know how that goes for you.
This is so much better than racing down that gravel road.
Oh gosh, yes.
So, when people go to like the Granny 4-speeds, it's really just because they also went to a bigger tire.
Oh no. Not just.
Well, I mean, you can crawl pretty good with a stock size tire.
Right.
You can crawl better with a Granny gear, but you really kind of need it when you go to those 33-inch Armstrongs or
Yeah, right. True.
Desert Dogs.
Regardless of what you do, you go from a 28-inch tall tire that everything's designed correctly, and all of a sudden you're on 33s, huge. Yeah, you really do want that granny low.
Well, and the Jeep already comes with just about the lowest gear ratio that you can get for those axles.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
538s.
it's not like you can re-gear it.
No.
You can't. So that's where like, oh, well, let's get a lower gear.
Right. Which is why the T18, they actually had a T18 4-speed with like a 6.5 to 1 first gear for this engine, for this Jeep.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So when did they start offering T18s?
Oh, mid-50s, I think, late 50s.
Okay.
They're super desirable.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, because they bolt to a Go Devil or a Hurricane.
Yep. So that's the other thing. This Jeep has the high hood because it has the
Hurricane 4-cylinder.
And that engine is taller because
it has an F-head design. F-head doesn't mean flat. It means the valves are in the head intake and the exhaust are in the block.
Okay.
Where an L-head, which is a flat head, has both intake and exhaust in the block and a flat head. So when they went to that newer engine with 10 more horsepower, they had to increase about that much. So your hood is that much and your cowl is that much. And
it's funny because we had Mark Allen, former head of Jeep design, and he was like, I can appreciate this. He's like, but there had to have been another way that they could have made that engine that much taller.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, put a little scoop on the regular.
Well, here's the deal. You don't have to make the engine any shorter. The engine itself will still fit in a flat fender. But the carburetor's this much bigger.
Ah.
So if you go to a Holley, I think it's a 1604 carburetor, bolts on basically, and it's only this big, and you don't have to cut a hole in the hood of a flatty.
Yeah, good to know.
And that's also why you see so many flatty hoods with a hole in them.
Because they didn't offer that carburetor at the time?
Later they did. Yeah, not in 54.
Right.
But they did offer, small block Chevys in 55.
Right.
They fit.
Yes. Well, and what's the guy's name from NHRA that put a...
Wally Parks.
Wally Parks.
So Wally Parks, that's even a better story because he was in Burma, China Theater of Operation, World War II, and all of the first, not prototype, but first production Jeeps were Bantam, Ford, and Willys, right?
Yep.
So most of those got shipped overseas for Lend-Lease and for our overseas people. Lend-Lease, of course, went to China. He was part of the Flying Tigers.
Okay.
So he happened to get a GP, which is the Ford one. Well, guess what? They came with a Ford tractor engine.
Really?
Well, guess what? A flathead Ford V8 bolts to that bell housing, which is why he ended up with a flathead Ford V8 in his GP in Burma in 1940.
Where did he get, what was that engine out of?
Some old Ford truck.
Nice.
I mean, pistons are really big things, but still.
But a hot rodder from the start.
That was a hot rodder, absolutely.
And probably the first engine swap on a Jeep.
I'm thinking yes.
Yes.
I think we owe it all to Wally Parks. And not just an engine swap, but a V8 swap.
Yes.
Long before the 265 Chevy came along in 55. So that's what's cool.
And so many people, like that's the thing about flat fenders nowadays. It's harder to find one with a stock engine in it.
It really is.
Than with a Buick V6 or a small block or anything else.
Yep.
And you've probably seen just about everything under the sun.
Oh, definitely. And there's a lot of cool swaps out there. And there's some stupid ones, and but to each their own.
Why did you pick the Buick 455 was it just what you had?
Well, a lot of reasons actually. First off, I went from the 4-cylinder to a Buick 225 V6.
Okay.
Which is what Jeep started using in 66 in their CJ5 as an option till 71. And that was probably one of the best Jeeping engines ever because of the heavy flywheel. It's torquey, it sounds weird, and awesome engine. So I went to that. And that's mainly because we used to go over the Mexican sand dunes and I had 4-cylinder, and my wife said, how come we can't stay up with these guys? I'm going around the bases of the dunes and slinging up. And they have 304s and 401s. And go, whoa, right? So I said, okay, I'll take care of that. And I put in a Buick V6. And that was great for years and years. And then, of course, more rock crawling. Decided to do the SM420. And finally I said, I really need more power. And I happened to have my original 455 from the 71 station wagon that I had, yes. So I pulled that out and stuck it in because it's the same bow housing. It fits.
Yep.
Makes some motor mounts. There's a few little other things to massage. I used an earlier water pump because it's an inch shorter. Those kind of things. Fits, no problem. And 510 foot-pounds of torque.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So you just idle along with these pistons.
Yeah.
About that size, coffee cans. So, come on, baby. Oh, we're in low range. So that's how I ended up with the 455. I mean, Ned had a 454.
Oh, you needed one more.
Of course. Why do you think I went 589 gears? Because he had 538s.
Was there some truth to the story that it was still a small package to easily fit in there or something like that?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I knew what I was doing.
Oh, okay.
I had to take on the firewall on one side. It comes like this. I had to cut that out, turn it around so it went like this.
Okay.
About a hand. That was for a valve cover. But it looks the same.
How is the GPW these days?
Still has a broken frame.
Which it's had as long as
years.
I've known you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can honestly say that, let's see, this is 2024.
Yeah.
I started working for you in 2002, but I probably knew you in about 2000. So let's just say 25 years.
I visited you in Portland.
Yeah. So we'll round it off to 25.
Yeah.
I have seen you drive that Jeep this many times.
Is that when we went out
Yeah.
to the Buttes, whatever that was called? Yeah.
Cougar Buttes.
That was a good time. I folded it up then, too.
Yeah. I remember it flexed so much that the battery terminals hit the inside of the hood and started sparking like crazy.
Right, because it folded.
Yeah.
We fixed it, though.
Yep.
I think that was a trip we were welding with batteries.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So what is next for that Jeep? Well, let's back up a step.
Yeah. What else is wrong with it?
You left the magazine, you left California, you moved back to Arizona where you grew up.
Yeah.
You found a great place out in the desert.
Yep.
You built yourself a shop you've always needed.
Yep.
And I noticed recently that you mentioned on one of the social medias that that Jeep was going to get something done to it.
Absolutely. I've driven it 3 times in 10 years.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And one time was on the trailer, one time was off the trailer. So
Barely counts.
it barely counts. Yeah. But fired up and run. Right? So that's really the important part. The clutch is still out because the plate froze to the flywheel and it's hydraulic clutch. So I've got all the parts for it. Hell, I've had it for like 10 years.
Of course.
Just like my A1.
Yep. So are you...
I'm actually going to do something. But first the A1.
Oh boy.
Because that one's my workhorse. Everything works except the clutch. And that's because I went mudding at Tierra del Sol in Salton Sea.
Yep.
Froze it up next day. There was no helping it. So I'm going to put a center force clutch in it.
Do you have a plan for what you're going to do with the GPW or just get it back together?
First, get it back together and running.
Yep.
I have 3 different frames for it, my choice. Originally, I got another M38 frame, which is what it has now. Because again, when I went over that cliff, I kind of bent the original frame, which I still have, of course.
Yep.
Why throw anything away? You might need it someday.
Of course.
As soon as you throw it away, you'll need it next week. It still happens. So that's what I got to do with that. I would like to get the clutch working. I'd like just to drive it.
Yep.
However, without having to slam it into gears.
Yep.
But before I do that, I'll fix my A1.
Yep.
which is just pulling out transmission transfer case, rebuilding transfer case,
So,
putting it back in.
so the GPW is not getting like major recipe change. It's just getting.
Recipe, no. The recipe was perfect. There was never anything that I couldn't do with it. I could blast through the dunes. Again, it's on flat YJ springs,
Yeah.
right? Which ride better than this. There. But eventually, I would like to actually use it like it should be used.
This is so much better than racing down that gravel road.
Oh gosh, yes.
Trying to keep it in second gear and engine screaming.
Now see, this is my kind of music.
Yeah.
So that's the question. What makes a Jeep sound like a Jeep? Is it the gears or the fan? Have a go now.
Oh.
You know, you hear like in MASH, or
Yep.
you hear the Jeep comes up. What's making that noise? The whole Jeep? The whole package? This one has a little extra noise, so
Yeah. Things are a little bit.
ready for these? Here we go.
Run, run. So good. Let's stop right here and let him catch up.
You don't want to stop too fast.
So what have you been wheeling recently since you, like what vehicles do you take out?
Right now, if I want to take something out, it'd be my dad's Jeep.
Okay.
The one I just drove to Florida and back.
Is that an MB?
GPW.
Oh, it's a GPW.
It's a 42 GPW, yeah. That's the same one that Freiberger and I went to Alaska in.
Yep.
The same one that I went to Nova Scotia and back in.
Oh, okay.
Same old Jeep.
So you didn't, but the trip to Nova Scotia was a different trip than the one when you went there. You tried to
That
get
was the
there.
second one I made it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I didn't stop in New York.
Yeah. You kept on trucking.
Yeah, she wasn't around. So, whoosh, made it all the way there. That was pretty good. And I picked up a friend of mine in New Hampshire or Vermont, one of the two. He had a Jeep shop. He says, "You got an extra seat, right?" I said, "Yeah, you want to go with me? Going to Nova Scotia?" He says, "Sure."
Nice.
So he hops in. We go all the way to Nova Scotia. And we come back. He doesn't have his passport.
So they wouldn't let him back in?
They wouldn't let him back in. They says, and this is like at midnight, right? We're coming
course.
back. He says, the border guy goes, "So, Mr. Parker, Andy Parker, so, Mr. Parker, exactly how did you expect to get back into the country without a passport?" He goes, "Because I'm with Rick Pewe." And that guy goes, "Well, hello, Mr. Pewe. What do you think I should get for my F-150? A Skyjacker kit or something else?" So I told him all what I thought. He was, "Okay, have a nice day."
Mr. Parker, don't forget your passport next time.
Oh, I was dying laughing. We were a little goofy too because it was midnight. We've been driving since Nova Scotia.
In a GPW.
Yeah, into Maine. Yeah,
Oh, yes.
with no doors.
Of course not.
So yeah.
Oh,
Oh, this is heaven. What looks good for you?
hold up right here. Because it would be cool if it'd be cool to be on that white rock.
Right ahead of us. Yeah.
Let's park it right here.
Here.
Yep. That's perfect.
Oh,
Clunk.
that's parking brake. Parking chalk.
Rick's going to show us a little under hood payway knowledge.
Ah, 134 cubic inch or a 2.2 for your foreigners. It is 4-cylinder. This is an F-head design. 134 Hurricane.
Okay.
Hurricane is the model. It usually says so right there on a nice little sticker.
Not to be confused with the Go Devil.
Correct, because Go Devil Although it uses the same basic block,
Yep.
it's a flat head, which is an L head.
Okay.
So the easiest way to tell is which side the carburetor's on. If you can't tell that it has a valve cover on top,
Yeah.
this one has carb on this side, the L head has carb on this side. And these plugs are sticking out this way. L head has them right on top.
Oh yes, I noticed that recently when I pulled the plugs on my Go Devil at home.
And they're on top.
So this is the section that's so tall that they had to bring
Right.
everything up.
This all fits with the proper hose radiator. If you use that Holley 1604, pretty sure that's the number, carburetor. I have a couple.
So you can keep it down below the
It's
valve
about here.
cover,
Yeah.
and then you could put this engine
In a real flat fender.
2A, 3A,
3A.
MB, GPW.
Right. And don't have to cut a hole in the hood or cut out anything.
Was that a popular swap, was to go to this engine?
Oh,
or-
absolutely, because the flathead has 60 horses, 60, 65 horses.
Yep.
This is 70, 75.
Ah, hot rod.
Well, figure it this way. If you're making 200 horses going to 210, that's not a big deal, right?
Right.
But when you're making 60 and going to 70,
It's a larger percentage.
That's a larger percentage, and you can actually feel the difference.
And the cool thing is that this is the Hurricane, and the new Jeep engine that they put in the Grand Wagoneer.
That's correct.
Which-
3 liter.
Wouldn't surprise me if we see it in the next generation Wrangler.
It is.
It's also
entirely
called the
possible.
Hurricane.
Right, but it's a 6-cylinder.
Oh, that's true.
Right. So I told him that this one is actually called the Hurricane.
Ah.
It's a little slower than a twin turbo 6-cylinder.
But wasn't
New
there a
Hurricane.
6-cylinder Super Hurricane?
Yeah, and that was the one that was in Willie's Wagon and Trucks,
Okay.
and it was a flathead L-head design.
So there was a flathead Hurricane and then an overhead Hurricane.
Actually,
Oh
No.
boy, here we go.
the flathead 6-cylinder was a Super Hurricane
Okay.
found in the trucks. Before that, they had a smaller displacement one that was 6-cylinder, and they also had an overhead valve 6-cylinder, similar to this. Nobody uses those. Nobody thinks about those. You're not going to find parts for them.
Right.
So just remember, Go Devil, flathead 4-cylinder, Hurricane, overhead valve. Not both,
Yep.
but just the exhaust, or excuse me, the intake. And these intakes are like that big,
Oh.
whereas the normal exhaust is about that big. So yeah, this breathes better and everything else. One of the cool things is you can actually turn one into the other because it's the same basic block casting.
Oh.
And people actually did that too.
By bolting parts together, or do you have to machine something?
Use the same block, but yeah, you have to machine stuff because things aren't there, like intake ports and things.
Yep.
And then you can go the other way and block stuff off.
Nice.
Nobody does that anymore.
Is there anything in here that's blatantly wrong?
I would never put this fuel filter so close, or the fuel lines so close to the yeah,
Exhaust?
that's hot. Yeah, exactly. You're just looking for vapor lock or worse problems.
Were these a 6
Easily
volt?
fixable.
Were these a 6 volt Jeep? originally?
Started out as 6-volt. Later they were converted factory to 12-volt.
Okay.
So this year, 54 would have been a 6-volt. Now, you notice you got a 12-volt battery in this one. So this engine and lights and everything else has been converted to 12-volt, which is why you have a General Motors 12SI alternator. Single wire, it runs. To do any other conversion, you change the bulbs from 6 to 12, etc.
Yep.
And the starter system here with a solenoid and a different type of starter than what would have been stock on this has been, I don't want to say mixed up, because it's a clever way to get to that good kind of starter.
Yep.
However, it could have been converted to a key starter if you wanted. It has all the components right there.
So can you run 12 volts to the 6 volt starter motor?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't leave it cranking on for like 5 minutes, although I have to get out of the highway.
Yeah.
They're pretty robust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But properly running 6-volt system, big cables and everything else, there's no need to convert.
All right.
Okay.
I know you want to drive this.
Yep.
But before I let you go rock crawling, I want you to sign on the bottom of the hood. We're having everybody sign it. The person that wins this Jeep, it's going to be pretty important and exciting to them that the people that
Cool.
have been in the interviews have signed the Jeep.
Awesome.
So,
Be happy to. Keep on jeeping. Cool.
Thanks for coming jeeping with us, Rick. I'll spot you up this. He doesn't need a spotter. If you want to win this Jeep, go to bestop.com. We'll see you next time. Ah, it's